Hello, everyone. It's Scott, and we're back with more Brothers War spoilers, day 5. This video is going to be focused on green cards that we got today, and we got some interesting ones that I think you'll like that are going to be very playable in Standard. So, again, thanks to our sponsor, Caffeinated Gamer, for sponsoring our video. Please remember to like and subscribe our content, and let's go ahead and take a look at the green cards from the Brothers War spoilers released today. First is Gaia's Gift for 2 mana. It's an instant. You get to put a +1 counter on target creature you control. It gains reach, trample, hexproof, and indestructible until the end of the turn. Normally spells like this I don't get excited about, but I think this is actually a really, really good spell in green because it does so much. It's protection for your creature. It gives it hexproof. So if you're attacking with something and your opponent goes to hit it with a Wandering Emperor or a spell that's going to kill it, like an Infernal Grasp, you cast this, you protect it, and then not only do you protect your creature, you give it a +1 counter. If you're already attacking with it, it has indestructible and it has now trample, so it can do some damage. So I think there might be a place for this in Standard as a 1 or 2 of, just as a, hey, I can do this and it's going to protect my creature and it's going to do some additional damage, and that damage getting through might be the difference in winning and losing. All right, next we have Tanos's Tinkering. For 4 mana, you get to put 2 +1 counters on target artifact, creature, or land you control. Untap that permanent. If it isn't a creature, it becomes a 0/0 creature in addition to its other types. It's 4 mana, not playable in Standard. Next we have Blanchwood Armor for 3 mana. It's an enchantment aura. You enchant a creature, and enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each forest you control. This is a playable card. It has seen Standard play throughout the years, and I would expect in the right deck, it's going to see play again. And now let me back up for a second here. Remember I just talked about Gaia's Gift. Okay, we've had a green-white deck that is around Luminarch Virtuoso, which got double strike, and anytime it is targeted by a spell you control, you get to connive. So I can see this potentially Gaia's Gift along with Blanchwood Armor. You put the Blanchwood Armor on it. Okay, that's going to increase the power of your Luminarch Virtuoso, and you also have some ways of protecting it with Gaia's Gift and some other things. And I think it's just a good card for Standard in the right deck. But this is, kind of that Voltron deck where you're going to build up one creature, you're going to protect it with everything, and hopefully that creature can win the game. But given the current state of Standard, I'm not sure that that's going to be good enough. But we've seen it work before. All right, next we got Pelagia Excavation. For 5 mana, you get a sorcery, create 3 tap Power Stone tokens, you gain 3 life, limited. All right, next we have Epic Confrontation and Audacity. These are spells that are going to help you in your matchups. Epic Confrontation, target creature, it's a sorcery for 2 mana. Target creature gets +1/+2 until end of turn, and it fights target creature you don't control. So you want to get a creature off the field late in the game or in the middle of the game. You can buff up one of your creatures and go ahead and fight another creature. Now, the one hesitation I have with this, we already have multiple fight spells for 1 and 2 mana in green that already see play, and I don't think this is better than those because many of them have the ability just for 1 green creature to deal damage to your opponent's creature, which is a much better option for you than having to fight one of your opponent's creatures. Next we have Audacity, which is another enchantment aura. You're going to enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2 and has trample. When Audacity is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So for 1 mana, you get to draw a card. You give a creature trample and +2. That's a good deal. Again, if we have an auras deck, remember I just talked about Luminarch Virtuoso. This is an ideal card for that kind of deck. because what that deck really wants to be able to do is hit you with its double strike and kill you very, very quickly. I mean, you could play Luminarch Virtuoso on turn 2, it stays in play, you cast this on it, now it's a 3/1, and because you've targeted it, now you're going to connive, so it's probably a 4/2, and now it has trample on top of that and the double strike. So this is, I think, a really playable card in that particular deck. Next we have Obstinate Bailiff and Fog of War. So for 4 mana, you get a beast. When Obstinate Bailiff enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life. If a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard Obstinate Bailiff, put it onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard. No, I don't think it's standard playable because we've already got a lot of good things in the 4-drop spot in green, but it's very much limited playable. That gaining 4 life is nice, but I think we just have better stuff in 4 and 5 mana slots already in green. All right, next we have Fog of War for 3 mana. You gain 1 life for each creature on the battlefield, which is a huge ability. The ability to gain a lot of life. So remember, I've been talking off and on about a Soldier's deck. This is a great card in that deck because you're sitting there and your opponent's about to attack in, so you're at a low life total, but you've got a lot of small creatures on the field, that you're going to use to block. Well, what this does is 2 things. It prevents all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by creatures with power 3 or less. So you only have to deal with the larger creatures, and you get to gain life for every creature you have on the field. And typically, by the time you might be using this, you probably have 4, 5, 6, maybe 8 to 10 creatures on the field. And that's going to gain you a ton of life for 3 mana. And I think that ability to prevent damage from your opponent as well is key and would allow you then on your next turn to then swing back at them and potentially, go ahead and lethal them and win the game. So interesting card, certainly a sideboard card to consider against aggro decks that are going to be in the format. All right, so that's it for green. Lots of interesting auras that were in the set today, or fight cards. And I think they're going to definitely see play in standard. How much is going to be really determined by what kind of decks we ended up seeing beyond the Esper deck that we know is going to be there. All right, so again, thanks to Caffeinated Gamers for sponsoring our video, and remember to like and subscribe, and I appreciate you sticking around with us through all these videos today. I hope you enjoy them, and I'll see you in the next video.